So today I want to tell you about my car mechanic. Tony and I have a great relationship. He's worked on our cars the last few years. He knows our cars really well. I know he's going to take care of them and he's not going to rip us off. And so every couple of months, I call up Tony, ask him when I can bring the cars in for an oil change. I drop him off, he works on him. When he's done, he calls me to come pick him up. So when I say that Tony and I have a great relationship, what I mean is that we have a mutual understanding of the function and purpose and boundaries of our relationship. I only ever call Tony when I need something for my car. We have what I would call a singular relationship. He's a mechanic, and I'm a customer who knows nothing about servicing his own car. And I just wonder if how I treat my relationship with Tony is how some of us treat our relationship with God. Like maybe, if you're honest, you really only go to God when you want something or when you need something. If you're honest, you and God kind of have a singular relationship. And for me, growing up, I was taught that prayer was primarily about asking for things. And I don't think that was ever actually preached or said explicitly, but I certainly wasn't seeing a lot of examples of anything else. It actually wasn't until years later that I started to discover prayer as something more than just a divine Christmas list. And what led me there was actually a strange, obscure little book of ancient poetry. If you open your Bible somewhere in the middle, you're likely to land in the book of Psalms. When I think about the Psalms, I always think about the little booklet that was on the inside of CD covers back when you used to buy CDs. I sound really old right now. But that's exactly what the Psalms are. They're essentially a collection of songs and poems and prayers. And just like the music that you and I love to listen to today, the Psalms are quotable, they're memorable, and they are filled with emotion. For example, look at the opening of Psalm 145. It says, "I will exalt you, my God and King. I will praise your name forever and ever. Every day I will praise you and extol your name forever and ever. Great is the Lord and most worthy of praise. His greatness no one can fathom." Here, the writer is clearly reaching out to God in praise. You can hear it in the text that this writer is experiencing emotions of joy and elation. Around 1/3 of the Psalms that you're going to find in the Bible have this feeling and vibe to them. But that's only 33% of what we find. We also have poems like Psalm 9. Listen to these words. "I will give thanks to you, Lord, with all my heart. I will tell of all your wonderful deeds." So this has a similar praiseworthy tone as Psalm 145 that we just looked at, but there's a crucial difference. Psalm 135 is praise and elation and worship for who God is, whereas Psalm 9 is expressing gratitude and thanksgiving for all that God does. And even now, we have only scratched the surface of what these poems have to offer, because not all of the poems that can be found in the Psalms have that same upbeat, worshipful tone. Some of them sound a little bit more like Psalm 6, which says stuff like, "My soul is in deep anguish. How long, Lord, how long?" It also says, "All night long I flood my bed with weeping and drench my couch with tears. My eyes grow weak with sorrow. They fail because of all my foes." We also find passages like this one that says, "I cry aloud to the Lord. I lift up my voice to the Lord for mercy. I pour out before him my complaint. Before him I tell my trouble." These words are very, very different than the words we read before. Here we find the writers experiencing deep anxiety and anguish and even anger. They lament their struggles. They describe their heartache and their tears. It's like a good old school emo album. I think it's important for us to note that the writers of these psalms are not only experiencing these emotions, but they're also expressing these emotions to God. The phrase, "I will pour out my complaint," is just as much a part of the Bible as "I will give thanks to God with all my heart." So why bring you this fire hose of poetry from the book of Psalms? Why talk about song lyrics and emotions and complaining in a video about prayer? Because if ever there was an example of the diversity and the complexity and the range that prayer is meant to look like in our lives, it's in the Psalms. In this collection of ancient poetry, we're essentially reading prayers from God's people. Psalms isn't just an album lyric booklet, it's a prayer journal. And this prayer journal is filled with both celebration and sadness. It's filled with praise and pain. It's filled with adoration, and it's filled with deep anxiety. Rather than a magic genie or a vending machine or an auto mechanic type of relationship, the Psalms show us that a relationship with God should actually function a lot more like the relationship with some of the closest and most intimate people in our lives. God actually longs for us to show up as we are with all that we're carrying. And one of the main places that we show up with God is in prayer. So when you find yourself in a ball of anxiety over your job situation, or over relational drama, or over worries about your future, you can bring that anxiety to God in prayer. When you feel like you're drowning in the pain of loss, or anger, or grief, you can scream, you can shout, you can stomp your feet, but do it all in prayer to God. And when you need to get quiet and just breathe, when you need to tune out all of the distractions of our noisy world, you can just sit with God in prayer. You don't even have to say anything. God does want us to bring our requests and bring our desires in prayer, because God actually cares about those requests and those desires. But God also wants us to bring every other part of ourselves, because God cares about every part, and ultimately, God longs to transform every part as well. Cheers, everybody. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, if it was helpful, please click the like button. Also, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and make sure that you're following me across all social platforms. I hope to see you all soon. I love you all. See you later.